Listen carefully. Most people believe confidence is loud. They think it is found in the booming voice, the fearless walk into a crowded room, the chest lifted high as if the world itself bows in recognition. They confuse arrogance with strength, noise with presence, and performance with power. But what if I told you the most confident man in the room is often the quietest, the one who doesn't need to prove himself because his silence already does, the one who bends fate not through noise, but through control? Machiavelli, the thinker of shadows, whispered of this kind of man. He knew that rulers rise and fall not by the armies they command, but by the mastery of themselves. To govern others, one must first govern the storm within. And this is where most of us fail. We are enslaved to our own emotions. Anger drags us into reckless decisions. Pride blinds us. Fear chains us. Desire deceives us. We mistake reaction for strength, when in truth, it is weakness exposed in daylight. True confidence, the kind Machiavelli respected, the kind only a disciplined mind can wield, is not found in the illusion of force. It is found in self-command. It is forged in the silence where impulse dies and clarity is born. Today we walk into that silence together, not to become louder, but to become unshakable, not to dominate others, but to rise above the enemy that has haunted us since birth, our own uncontrolled emotions. This is not motivation for the faint-hearted. This is for those who seek to build an aura that cannot be broken, for those who wish to embody the trait of the truly confident, the trait Machiavelli saw in kings and conquerors, the trait the Stoics saw in the man who rules himself before he rules the world. If you are ready to step beyond the illusion, if you are ready to walk into the darker, deeper path of power, then stay. For what you are about to hear will not simply inspire you, it will transform you. Section 1. The Illusion of Confidence. We live in an age of performance. Everywhere we look, people are acting. On stages called social media, in offices where masks are worn, in friendships where words are currency, everyone plays a role. And the role most adored? Confidence. But look closely and you will see. What people call confidence is often nothing more than a fragile disguise, a mask of laughter hiding fear, a display of arrogance hiding insecurity, a storm of words hiding the emptiness of thought. The world has mistaken noise for power. A man who shouts is called strong. A man who interrupts is called assertive. A man who flaunts is called successful. And yet, all these men tremble when silence confronts them. Because silence strips away illusion, and silence exposes the truth. We have been trained to chase this false confidence, to imitate its posture, its tone, its surface image. But the truth is this: what is built on performance cannot last. When life strikes, and it always does, performance crumbles. The loudest man becomes the weakest. The arrogant face collapses into fear. The mask falls, and all that remains is the trembling child beneath. Machiavelli, the master of realpolitik, understood this. He studied rulers who lost kingdoms because they could not master themselves. He knew the illusion of confidence was a trap, because when fear arrived, the mask shattered. What remained determined whether the ruler survived or was devoured. The truly confident are different. They do not perform. They do not seek validation. They do not tremble when eyes are upon them, nor when silence surrounds them. Why? Because their power is not external. Their fortress is built within. And this is where our journey must begin. We must unmask ourselves. We must ask, is the confidence I display real, or is it borrowed? Is it mine, or is it merely a performance for the world's applause? Because until we answer, we will remain slaves to the illusion. The nature of the mask. Think about the last time you acted confident but felt hollow inside. The time you forced to smile, gave a speech, pretended to know the answer, pretended to be fearless. The world may have applauded, but when the lights went out and silence returned, what did you feel? Anxiety, doubt, emptiness. This is the nature of the mask. It deceives not only others, but ourselves. We start to believe in our performance, and then one day, when life tests us, we collapse. Because the storm outside revealed the storm inside. Machiavelli's insight is brutal. Men are not destroyed by their enemies, but by their weaknesses. And the greatest weakness is to be ruled by emotion, to wear a mask instead of a crown, to display what we do not possess. We cannot afford to keep living this way. If we continue, we will remain fragile. But if we tear away the mask, we can begin the true work, the work of building a confidence so powerful it does not need to be displayed, because it radiates in silence.
The Machiavellian eye. Machiavelli studied human nature with a cold, almost surgical precision. He saw that the difference between those who rise and those who fall is not luck, it is composure. He wrote about princes who lost everything because they could not control their fear, about rulers who destroyed their allies because pride clouded their judgment, about men who became slaves to their anger, and in doing so, handed their enemies the keys to their own downfall. And he admired, almost with dark reverence, the few who did not flinch. He knew that a man who governs his emotions is a man who can govern nations, because the greatest battlefield is not outside, it is within. The one who conquers himself is feared not because he is cruel, but because he is unreadable, unshakable, a storm contained within walls. This is why Machiavelli's mirror terrifies people, because when they look into it, they do not see their achievements. They see their impulses. They see how easily they are shaken. They see their fragility dressed as strength. The fortress within. Imagine two castles. The first is grand, towering walls, shining flags, trumpets announcing its glory. But inside, the guards are drunk, the gates are unguarded, and the king panics at every rumor. The second is modest, quiet, even overlooked. But inside, the gates are strong, the soldiers disciplined, and the king sits calmly in the war room, watching, waiting, planning. Which castle will fall first when the enemy arrives? This is the metaphor Machiavelli lived by. The external appearance of strength means nothing if the internal structure is rotten. A man may wear the mask of power, but if he cannot govern his own rage, envy, lust, or fear, then all his power is borrowed. It will crumble the moment life tests him. But a man who builds his fortress within, who trains his impulses like soldiers, who governs his emotions like provinces, he cannot be conquered easily. This inner fortress is the core trait of true confidence. Not charm, not arrogance, not luck. Command. The storm and the stone. Consider this image. A storm strikes the land. Rain, wind, thunder. Trees bend. Weak branches break. The sky roars like an animal unleashed. In the middle of this chaos, a stone stands, silent, unmoving. It does not stop the storm, but the storm does not move it either. That is what true confidence looks like. Not the ability to control the world, but the ability to not be controlled by it. When life hurls its chaos at you, betrayal, humiliation, loss, uncertainty, you have two choices: to be the branch that breaks or the stone that stands. The confident man chooses to stand, not because he is immune to pain, but because he is anchored. His mind has learned the ancient discipline of Stoic self-command. Machiavelli may not have called it Stoicism by name, but he understood its consequences. The man who masters himself becomes a force that circumstances cannot easily bend.
Moments of pressure reveal everything. There are moments in life that act like furnaces. They don't create character, they reveal it. When someone insults you in public, when a plan you built with hope collapses, when betrayal cuts deeper than any blade, when your reputation is questioned, your worth doubted, your strength mocked. In these moments, most people respond impulsively. They lash out to defend their ego. They overreact to prove their worth. They panic to regain control. And in doing so, they show the world their weak point. They reveal where their fortress crumbles. They make themselves predictable and therefore vulnerable. But the one who stands still, who controls the storm within, gives nothing away. His silence becomes unreadable. His presence becomes heavy. His enemies cannot guess his move, because even he does not act until he has chosen to. This is the secret Machiavelli saw in great leaders. They were not the ones who spoke the loudest. They were the ones who remained in command when others lost their heads. The mirror turns toward us. Now let us turn Machiavelli's mirror toward ourselves. Look at your life. Where do you lose control? Which emotions rule you when pressure rises? What habits appear when the world corners you? This is not a question meant to shame. It is a question meant to awaken. Because the man who refuses to see his weakness will never transcend it. But the man who dares to confront it in silence with brutal honesty begins the transformation. We are not here to perform confidence. We are here to become confident. And becoming begins with truth. The first step is watching the storm. The Stoics taught that before you can control an emotion, you must watch it. Observe it rise. Observe its shape. Do not act. Do not suppress. Just watch. Because the moment you can see the storm without being swept away by it, you have already taken the first step toward command. Machiavelli observed men under pressure like a philosopher observing a storm. He saw that the ones who ruled best were not those who tried to stop the storm. They were the ones who did not let the storm decide their actions. And that, my friend, is where true confidence is born. Not in pretending the storm does not exist, but in standing still while it rages. Section 3. Destructive emotions, the invisible enemy. There are enemies that can be seen: armies, rivals, critics, schemers. And then there are enemies that live inside you, disguised as your own feelings. They wear familiar faces. They speak in your own voice. They pretend to be your allies. But make no mistake, they are assassins. And they destroy more empires, more reputations, more souls than any external foe ever could. Machiavelli observed this with a cold, ruthless clarity. He saw rulers lose kingdoms, not because their enemies were strong, but because their emotions were stronger than their reason. And the Stoics, centuries before him, knew this truth intimately. The fiercest war is the war against destructive emotions. Anger, pride, fear, envy. These are not mere feelings. They are forces that shape destinies. They are invisible chains that bind men, turning kings into slaves, warriors into fools, and confident minds into broken vessels. Anger, the fire that burns its master. Let us begin with anger. It is seductive, isn't it? The sudden rush of heat, the intoxicating sense of righteousness, the urge to strike, to destroy, to show them. But anger is not strength. Anger is weakness set on fire. When anger rules a man, his enemy doesn't need to outthink him. He only needs to provoke him. Machiavelli admired those who could remain cold under insult, because the man who can be provoked easily can be controlled easily. A rival whispers one calculated insult, and the angry man throws away his position, his strategy, his dignity, all to satisfy a moment's emotional itch. Anger makes men loud, predictable, and foolish. It makes them reveal their plans. It makes them step into traps with their eyes wide open. The Stoics saw anger as a form of temporary madness. Seneca wrote that anger, if not restrained, is more destructive than the sword. He was right. History is full of kings who waged wars they could not win because their pride was wounded. Leaders who punished when they should have paused. Fathers who broke their children's spirit. Friends who became enemies overnight. And beneath it all was a single spark, uncontrolled. The truly confident man does not let anger decide. He observes it like a fire behind glass. He watches its shape, feels its heat, but he chooses when, if ever, to act. His power lies in delay, in restraint, in cold calculation. Anger wants you to swing the sword immediately. Confidence teaches you to sharpen it first, or sometimes not swing it at all.
Pride, the sweet poison. Next is pride, perhaps the most dangerous of all. Because unlike anger, pride doesn't always scream. It whispers. It flatters. It makes you believe you are untouchable, even when cracks have already begun to form. Pride builds golden cages. It convinces you that you are above learning, above criticism, above failure. It blinds you to weakness. Machiavelli saw this in rulers who surrounded themselves with flatterers, who ignored warning signs because their pride preferred lies over truth. They ruled as if the world revolved around their ego, until the world reminded them that it did not. Pride is subtle. It makes you ignore feedback. It makes you overthink when clarity is needed. It makes you obey when courage is required. The Stoics treated pride like a dangerous flame. They reminded themselves daily of their mortality, their fallibility, their smallness before the universe. Why? Because a man who forgets how fragile he is becomes breakable in the worst way. The truly confident man does not need to believe he is a god. He is grounded in reality. He does not depend on others to inflate his worth. He listens more than he speaks. He learns even when praised. And when insulted, he does not crumble, because his worth was never built on the world's applause. Pride is sweet poison. It kills slowly by making you blind. Confidence is bitter discipline. It keeps your eyes open even when the truth hurts. Fear, the silent chain. Then comes fear, the invisible chain around the neck of almost every human being. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of loss, fear of not being enough. It does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers like a quiet parasite in the back of your mind. It makes you hesitate when you should act. It makes you overthink when clarity is needed. It makes you obey when courage is required. Machiavelli understood fear's dual nature. He advised rulers to be feared rather than loved, not because he glorified cruelty, but because he knew fear governs men more reliably than affection. But the question is, who governs your fear? Most people let fear steer their entire lives. They choose comfort over courage. They choose silence over truth. They choose chains over freedom. The Stoics approached fear differently. They didn't try to erase it. They studied it. They broke it down until it lost its illusion of power. They asked, what am I really afraid of? Is it death, poverty, rejection, loss? And when the answers came, they faced them with clarity, not avoidance. Confidence does not mean the absence of fear. It means walking forward despite it. It means refusing to let fear dictate your choices. It means becoming the master, not the captive. The truly confident man acknowledges fear, but does not bow to it. He uses it as information, not as a command. And that makes him unstoppable. Envy, the hidden rot. Finally, envy, the most silent, most corrosive of all. Envy is not loud like anger, nor intoxicating like pride, nor paralyzing like fear. Envy creeps. It whispers in the quiet moments. It compares. It measures. It feeds on other people's lives, slowly eating away your peace. Machiavelli saw envy as one of the most dangerous forces in politics. It turns allies into secret enemies. It corrodes trust. It drives men to sabotage others rather than build themselves. Envy is a confession. I have lost control over my own sense of worth. It is looking outward because inward feels empty. The Stoics had a brutal cure for envy. Focus on your own path. Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Meaning, stop competing in invisible races that lead nowhere. The truly confident man does not envy because he measures himself against his own standard. He knows that another's success does not reduce his worth. He sees others' achievements as neutral or even as inspiration, but never as threats. Envy is a thief that steals your focus and leaves you bitter. Confidence is a guardian that protects your attention and turns it inward where power truly lies. The enemy within. So here they are. Anger, the fire that blinds. Pride, the sweet poison. Fear, the silent chain. Envy, the hidden rot. They live within us, quietly shaping our decisions, distorting our perceptions, sabotaging our growth. Machiavelli analyzed them coldly. The Stoics fought them bravely. Both knew this: if you cannot master these emotions, they will master you. And if they master you, no external victory will matter, because your fortress will already be crumbling from the inside.
the path of mastery. The path of the truly confident is not glamorous. It is not a stage performance. It is a war, an inner war, fought in silence. Every time you resist anger's call to act impulsively, you win. Every time you pierce pride's illusion with honest self-reflection, you win. Every time you walk despite fear, you win. Every time you pull envy's claws out of your mind, you win. These victories are invisible to the world, but they are everything, because they shape who you are when pressure comes. And when the world strikes, the man who has mastered these inner enemies stands like a fortress. And that is where the illusion cracks. Confidence isn't the roar that fills the room, it's the silence that bends it. Those who master their emotions don't react, they shape reality. They do not fight every battle, they choose the ones that matter. And when the storm comes, they do not flinch, they watch. This is the hidden trait Machiavelli admired, the quiet sovereignty over oneself. Because the man who commands himself eventually commands the world.